Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded, the 3D modeling fan art project where I am reimagining the kingdom of Hyrule as it could have existed within the world and art style of the Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker, corresponding the islands of the Great Sea to the mountaintops of Hyrule, realizing the unseen world that we only got a glimpse of in-game, but I know so many of us wanted to see more of. And thanks to the power of 3D modeling, we are finally seeing this unique world realized in the unique art style of the Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker. And we're getting close. We've been making good strides. I've been very excited and inspired about the progress on Wind Waker Unflooded, and I'm very excited to, just keep moving forward and going into next year. Like, I think we can finish the map before the end of 2025. That's my goal. That's my goal. We'll see if we can get there. I mean, I have other obligations, and it's a big project, and it's bigger than I'm sure I even suspect, right? Because that's how it goes, right? It's like you finish all the terrain, and then you keep looking at, like, all the details you could add, and I'm sure that there will be things that, like, just keep me going, right? It's like, well, I thought I was done, but now that I'm looking around, I'm like, well, there's so much more to do, and I'm sure that will happen. I feel aware of that. I feel very aware of that, but also, like, I'm excited, and I think we can keep up the momentum, and there's a lot of these videos have been fun to just keep working on, and I'm excited to just keep moving forward. And going into 2025, I also, someone commented that, they wanted me to make a comprehensive recap video going into the new year, and I totally agree. I think that's a great idea, because, I try to make recap videos every couple of months, but they're not always comprehensive, and I definitely want to make sure that people feel really up to date on what's already been made, what's the current progress on the project, so that, like, when you leave suggestions, right, you can really be informed about, what have I already done, what's left to be done, what am I looking for ideas for, because that's something I really appreciate, that in my last recap video, I was specific about, I don't know what to do with these islands, and because I said that, I saw a lot of commenters directly respond to, well, here's what you could do for those islands. Because that's something that, like, in every video I'm asking for feedback, but when I can be specific about what I'm asking for, that helps. And I'm appreciative of that. And I think sometimes I don't realize the power I have when recording these voiceovers. They're like, I can say specific things for y'all to respond to. That's kind of crazy. What I'm doing right now is what affects the comments. That's crazy. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about what I'm working on in this video, because today we are working on Hyrule Castle Town. This is one of the additions to the project that really excites me, because I mean there's so much about it that excites me for a lot of different reasons. As a creative exercise, this is, of course, like, a totally new version of Hyrule Castle Town, right? One that was rebuilt after the events of Ocarina of Time, but destroyed before the events of the Wind Waker. Of course, this is Hyrule right before the Great Flood. And so this is a version of the Castle Town that would have been destroyed as a result of the war that would have broken out when Ganondorf returned during the events of the prologue of the Wind Waker. And so, I'm just excited to keep building out this version of Castle Town. It's architecturally, it's one that, to me, I really want to make sure it's pulling from, a lot of, like, I think a lot of the major European cities. I think of a little bit of London. I think of a little bit of Paris. And it's an abstraction of that. But there's things that I'm pulling from, right, in those cities. And I definitely want to lean into, this is a story of this fight against the monarchy. And even if it doesn't, even if it feels like you're on the wrong side of that fight, right, sometimes in the story of Zelda. I think that's such an interesting thing about the world, and definitely something I want to play into in the storytelling of Wind Waker Unflooded, right? Even if that's just implicit through the environmental storytelling, is showing this monarchy that's about to fall. Why do things get so bad that the world floods? One of those things is its relationship to nature, right? Is that this is a society that is essentially assuming it has control over nature, right? And this lake town of Hyrule Castle Town, I think, is a symbol of that. These stones that are basically hovering over the lake, right? Assuming that they just won't fall one day. Right, essentially. And so it's this symbol of just, another symbol of hubris, right? Another assumption of control over the natural world. And of course, they don't have control over the water. Of course, the water will one day consume them. There will be a flood, and the world will be, completely washed away. And they have no concept of that. And in their pride, right, they assume they have control. And so, that's a big theme of the project. And that's a theme that I want to, show that, there are ways in which they are. I mean, it's very much a Tower of Babel story, right? Even if the world is not full of towers in a way, it's what does the Tower of Babel symbolize, right? And this pride and this feeling of superiority that a society can have. And that's definitely something that, that story of a society that sees itself as superior being washed away, right? Its pride being checked. That's definitely, the world of Hyrule right before the Great Flood, right? And so that's something that, I don't know, those are all the things kind of on my radar, symbolically, right? And that's something that I think Hyrule Castle Town especially is capable of showing, right? That it is the center of hubris, right? And it's Hyrule is a big world, and I think it's so tough because there's also there were good people caught in the crossfire. The world is flooded, and not everyone deserved it, right? It wasn't a sweepingly righteous move, right? And that's something I want to show too. Is the whole kingdom is not full of pride. There are towns and villages and farmland and innocent people all over the world, and I definitely want to get more into showing those communities as well. And I already have a couple of unique villages scattered throughout the map, but I definitely want to keep creating those spaces as well. Right, not just these dense population centers like Hyrule Castle Town, but yeah, showing little villages throughout the world. I know someone just commented that they want to see the southern village from Echoes of Wisdom, and I think that could be interesting, and I want to figure out where it takes place, or where it exists on the map, because yeah, I guess I'm open to locations from other Zelda games and newer Zelda games if we can kind of justify that, they existed during the period of Ocarina of Time, perchance just off screen, so to speak, right? Because I've taken locations already from Breath of the Wild, the Great Plateau and Hateno Village, and I'm okay with saying, maybe they were still there during the events of Ocarina of Time. We never got to explore them as the player, and I'm okay doing that with a lot of locations, whether that's the Arbiter's Grounds or the City in the Sky from Twilight Princess. Things that maybe we did not see them in Ocarina of Time, because of course, the world of the Wind Waker Unflooded is, it is taking place after, a number of years after the events of Ocarina of Time. In theory, that's the closest game of the timeline. That kind of should be our reference for what exists in the world. And yet, it's just I think there's a lot of things that Ocarina of Time's map didn't show us that could still exist. Things like the Akala Citadel. I mean, all kinds of things. And so I feel a lot of freedom to pull from all over so many different games, because it's a complete version of Hyrule, right? And so especially from the map of Breath of the Wild, I want to be aware of. But I guess all this to say is yeah, I'm totally open to borrowing ideas from Echoes of Wisdom. I think I figured out, I hate being the guy that's rotating maps and for Zelda lore, and it's if you do this, it all works out. Because it's I say I hate doing that just because I do feel it can be a lost cause, and Zelda geography is just something that's yeah, it's not consistent. That's how it goes, right? But I do think that Echoes of Wisdom's map works pretty well when rotated on its side, right? So that the desert is in the northwest. I think that's what I figured out. Let me pull it up, because I did a and maybe I could put the image on screen if the future editor version of myself remembers this. But I did a side-by-side where I was yeah, okay, these maps pretty much work in this orientation. So I'll make sure to make that happen on screen. But all this to say is yeah, it's I'm okay with using elements from Echoes of Wisdom. And yeah, when turned on its side, would the southern village be I need to just kind of figure out where that is. I think my assumption is that means it's somewhere along, kind of where I have Lon Lon Ranch right now in my project, which is like a quadrant west of the castle, essentially, like kind of around like the riverbank. But anyway, I mean, that's a future thing to worry about. But anyway, like, I mean, there's so many things left to make in the project, essentially. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm excited to just keep working on it. And yeah, just like, I don't know, like, it's been a joy to share the project with all of you and to have so many people commenting. And I definitely feel lucky to have an audience that is attentive, and that is interested in this project and passionate. And yeah, just being able to share this passion has been very meaningful. Because, yeah, I mean, this is a project that I've always wanted to see, and just being able to make it and then share that love with so many people watching has been a real joy. And so I want to thank y'all for that. Just going into the new year, I've been very thankful for this project, and just, what it's allowed for my creativity, and, like, just it's something that it's rare that I really get to share a project with a big audience like this. If y'all have been following me, y'all know I do a lot of different projects, right? I make films. I'm a composer, right? If you watch my films, I make all of the soundtracks to my films. I do all of these different things that, they don't always get an audience, right? And so I don't know, not to be sad about it, but it is something where I'm just like, I feel lucky that this project has an audience. And I'm definitely very thankful for that. And it's been a joy to see so many of y'all along for the ride who've been invested in this project for a long time. A lot of y'all have been watching videos, since the channel blew up a year and a half ago, right? And I'm very appreciative of everyone who's paid attention and commented, right? Or been able to support me in some way. So this is the part of the video where I plug my Patreon a little bit, and I don't like doing that, but it is something where I just want to say how meaningful it's been that people have supported me. And like I said, I'm a filmmaker, and I post all kinds of behind the scenes content on my Patreon. Scripts that I'm writing, rough cuts of short films, anything I'm working on that's in progress. You'll get sneak peeks, excuse me, on Patreon. So I just need to say that real quick, and I'm not going to linger on it. I don't know, I don't like doing that, but it is something where, I always need to say, that does make a difference. And it is something that if you want to be able to support me as a creator, becoming a member on Patreon helps support the creation of all of my projects. And yeah, like that's all I'll say. I don't want to linger on it, but it is something that is meaningful. And like I said, I'm thankful to everyone who has supported me thus far. So I feel very lucky to have so many people that are just excited about what I do. And yeah, I'm thankful for y'all. And so, yeah, I mean, like, let me recap the progress we've made in this video, because we've made good progress on the Hyrule Castle town. Today, I worked a little bit on the park. I worked a little bit on these market stalls. That was a major step for the castle town, because it didn't really have an official, like, town square yet. And now it does, and I feel good about it. But yeah, I mean, and those were the main strides. I added some new towers to the Hyrule Castle town, which will help kind of make its silhouette a little more memorable. And so yeah, like I'm excited about the progress that's been made. It needed this kind of town square, and because that's something that every Hyrule Castle town has, right? It needs a classic town square with market stalls and a fountain. And so now I'm glad that it finally has that. And yeah, just without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to a past version of myself, but just thank you so much for watching, all of you, and comment down below what y'all want to see me work on next in this project. But without further ado, I'll let you go.
Now, if you're looking for other ways to support me, as always, you can support me as a creator by becoming a member on Patreon. There you'll get access to all kinds of exclusive behind-the-scenes content like in-progress outlines, scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, and even soundtracks for my newest films. By becoming a member, you'll also be thanked in the credits for any film I finish during your membership. You can also support me by streaming my music. I compose all of the scores for my own short films, and you can listen to those soundtracks on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to music. Just look up Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Y'all have a wonderful day, and without further ado, I'll let you go.